Okay, welcome everyone. I would like to welcome everyone that will be following this and for everyone watching and also the participants of this panel discussion, which is titled by Light Art at Quarantine. I'm very happy that we will have the chance to talk about many things that are concerning the artists and also the light art. For 2 years in a row, the Universal Hall in Skopje has been giving the citizens of the capital city of North Macedonia a unique experience of being filled with light and many colors, organizing the Festival of Light Skopje Light Art District. This festival is a kind of new cultural and social event that through various light installations and participation of artists from the country and abroad provides the attendees with an exciting experience with lighting installations, interactive and musical performances and video mapping. Skopje Light Art District is a relatively young festival that has been held for 2 years through the streets of the city of Skopje. Our team is really making great efforts to elevate this festival to an event like the ones in Europe that have a long tradition inviting a large number of artists from the country and abroad. This art is a dynamic combination of light, materials, methods, concepts, and objects that challenge traditional boundaries and defy easy definition. Diverse and eclectic, it is a part of a cultural dialogue about larger contextual frameworks. Overall, this event creates urban and collective memory and history and upgrades the urban image. The uniqueness derives from the compositions within the public spaces and as such cannot be reproduced in a gallery environment. I would like to present now all the participants that will be part of this panel discussion. And here you can see all of them. Hi to everyone. I'm very grateful that everyone is joining us and we can have the chance to talk and to debate also as well. So we have Bettina Pels from Germany, curator, writer, and researcher, and ex-jury member on SCLAD mapping contest. Also, we have Andrea Muller from the Netherlands, director of Luna Light Festival from Leeuwarden, which was the European Capital of Culture in 2018. Welcome, Andrea. Kari Kola from Finland, who is a light artist, participant in Galway, the European Capital of Culture 2020. And Katerina Mirovic from Slovenia. Hello, Katerina. Producer, editor, and curator of Svetlovna Guerrilla, or Lightning Guerrilla, from Ljubljana, Slovenia, supporter of SCLAD from the beginning, and as well Filip Avramchev, North Macedonia, director of Universal Hall Skopje. Hi, Filip. The world is currently facing an unprecedented global challenge, and countries are rightly focusing their efforts on saving lives and fighting the pandemic of COVID-19. Because of this, we've decided to reschedule our festival, which was scheduled to take place this May. There is a tradition in theater, as you can see all around me, an empty hall, which is sad. But this tradition in theater that whenever it lies empty like this one light is left on, the reason being that people will always return. Over the past couple of weeks, these ghost lights have been lit not just in theaters, but museums, galleries, concert halls, and cinemas during an unprecedented shutdown that many feared would be catastrophic for the arts and the livelihood of its many participants. Thanks to the advances in technology, the delivery of culture in this time of a pandemic is much more efficient and effective than it would have been if this crisis had happened, let's say, a decade ago. In art and culture, we find a way to understand, emote, explore, and process our emotions about a way of life alien to most of us. We may not yet be able to stand in a gallery and lose ourselves in brushstrokes dancing artists across a canvas, not yet uncover an emerging artist feeling a wave of new, as yet undefined emotions as we gaze on their work. Not yet see, touch, and listen to artists and creators as they unveil new exhibitions, Yet, for now, we can be a part of community outside the four walls of our homes, reach across countries and oceans, and form a new, also different, digital creative space. Institutions, performers, musicians, and artists across the whole world have searched for imaginative solutions to bring people entertainment and a little solace in the confinement of their own homes. And these posts might be a lifeline to, hopefully, keeping someone sane and improving their general mental health and well-being. Okay, so let's begin our journey through this discussion that will give us a chance to have a glance in nowadays situations to light art at quarantine. Okay, let's go with the first round of questions. The question is for everyone, so everyone can answer it. And we will start off with Bettina Peltz. Let me just unmute the microphone, Bettina. Hi, Bettina. Welcome. How has the pandemic of COVID-19 affected your work and maybe or your organization? And have you in some way adapted to the current situation?
Sure. Everybody have to adapt, but I think we master improvisation and we know how to solve problems. So I think we are on the way to have a new format, and somehow we like these kind of challenges.
Okay, now we are off to Andrea. And Andrea, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Same question to you, Andrea.
Well, my festival work so far is not so much affected because our festival is at the end of November. We somehow have hope that we may be maybe the first big audience event that may take place. But at the same time, we're realistic and we think that probably in September, we will take a decision on whether to cancel or maybe to adapt the format. So for us, the festival work is not so much different from what it is normally, but I also work for the Dutch National Foundation for the Arts and Cultural Heritage, and we could see that their people just stopped being active. We thought that maybe artists seize the opportunity to say, oh, I have some time now and I have to get money, somehow funds, so I can take the time, sit down and write lots of applications. But for more than 1 month, it was totally quiet. I really ask people, I beg people, please call me, I want to help you, I can help you. All funds are still open except for the international ones. But people were just silent. But that changed. Like last week or so, it changed, and people found the way into thinking about a new future, really.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea, for this intro. We will talk a little bit more afterwards. Now we go to Kari Kola. Kari, hi.
Hey, hey.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Same question to you, Kari.
Well, of course, it was striking at the beginning because all the gigs are cancelled, but there's more time now, and I'm actually working multiple works, preparing stuff for this year and next year for really big scale, because I think this kind of times gives lots of possibilities also. So. I agree with Andrea that now it's time to be active on things. There's lots of possibilities also. So for me, it's been actually a good thing.
Okay, nice to hear that. And now we go to Katerina Mirovic. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay.
Same question to you, Kate. How has pandemic of COVID-19 affected your work and or maybe your organizations? And have you in some way adapted to the current situation?
Yeah, well, we do a program through the year. So we had to move some events already, and we moved the festival on 15 on June, and we plan to do it. I don't know if there will be official opening or not, or maybe we'll just display installations in the public space. If they let us do it, that's another question. But on Monday, the galleries and museums are going to be open again, so I guess we should do the same. And the worst is, I guess, is the production part, because artists have to do their work, and lots of projects are connected with more artists together, and some of them, they don't even live in the same city officially. So, and also a lot of stuff is connected to China, like electronics and stuff, which we are still waiting some to come. So this way, this is the heaviest part. I think it's on waiting on material and waiting when you will be able to join with your colleagues to do to finish your artwork. And also this time waiting if you will be able to do it or not, and think about what if it doesn't happen, because I can't move the festival on fall because I have another festival then. So it's not like we are doing lots of things during the year, and especially also with the students. And with students, it's a problem because now everybody went home and they all went to other cities, and they can't even buy materials because some of them live in the villages where there's no technical shop. So it's a bit complicated, but then on the same time, it gives you opportunity to think about other things, about what you want to do next year, to plan things in the next year, maybe to work a bit on yourself also. Like I go to the local hills every second day, so I'm getting prepared for better physical condition, and these kind of things. This is basically all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kate, for this intro. Can I call you Kate, or would you prefer Katerina?
Katerina or Katra?
Okay, Katra. Let's go with Katra. Thank you. Now we move on to Philip. Hi, Philip.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. First, I would like to thank all the participants as a host that you had time to come and share some debate, some things that are bothering all of us, and thank to all participants for joining us.
Thank you for organizing this. Same question to you, Philip.
Well, basically, as you said before, we had to, because our festival was scheduled end of May, we had to postpone it, and that was, very postpone it indefinitely. I mean, we said end of summer, maybe beginning of fall, but who knows what's going to happen with the, with the city and the country giving permission to festivals for open air or for large crowds. And it's it's such a pity, since this was supposed to be our third year festival, and the first 2 years, let's say, were like difficult. This year we had like large number of applications. We kind of like pre-selected a lot of applications. We decided of locations. We made a whole map and everything. We have a large number of our mapping contests, which is part of the festival. We had a large number of applications, high quality ones, and we kind of, even for the first year, we managed to find some commercial sponsors. Before that, the first 2 years, it was just the finances. It was financed just from the city. So basically, it was like very, very pity that we have to reschedule. Hopefully, we're gonna manage to have the festival end of summer, beginning of fall, but who knows what's going to happen. And basically, we have not adapted. We're still hoping that we're gonna be able at some point to organize it. Maybe it's just going to be just open air installations, nothing inside, but hopefully we're going to manage to have it, as I said, end of summer, beginning of fall, and hopefully I will see all the participants in Skopje sooner rather than later.
Yeah, thank you very much, Philip. I think that this is a very good part with these intros, where we can start off with the questions. Bettina, once again, I will start with you. For everyone who maybe don't know Bettina Peltz has been working as a freelance curator since 1996. And since 2000, with a focus on light in art, design, and architecture. As such, she is involved in a wide range of interdisciplinary projects, regularly in the European countries, but in countries overseas like Mexico, Singapore, South Africa, Tunisia, Canada, and the United States of America as well. Since 2004, she has been teaching at the University of the Arts in Bremen, in the professionalization field in the courses of fine art, integrated design, and digital media. Over the last 20 years, her curatorial work is dedicated to art in context projects. Her transdisciplinary projects are hosted at art institutions and in public space in post-industrial settings and cultural heritage environments. So, Bettina, you are certainly the best person to tell us what is going on in contemporary light art scene today. How would you describe the evolution since the time you started?
Okay, let me share some slides for that.
Okay.
I cycled some slides from the presentation I did last year in Skopje. So, Philip, hopefully you are not bored. Let me just do that. I started with this kind of focus in 2002, and at that time the festivals of Helsinki, Lyon, and Torino were existing. So none of the others. So, and as you know, in the last 20 years, we had an enormous explosion of activities. Many of them have a focus on urban entertainment. You can see here, this is an example of I think, Eindhoven, but as well other cities have focused on the idea, bringing a lot of people into the city, generating this kind of mass events. But we have as well some kind of festivals that focus on projection mapping. I included Skopje in that one because Skopje has a projection mapping context. It's a new technology. It's a new kind of artists that are involved with that, and I think it's quite interesting to create new kinds of displays for that. I think Skopje is one of them. And then we have festivals that focus more on lighting design. Arlingsås in Sweden was probably the first one and still the most famous one. And then we have some that focus more on contemporary art. And I think it's interesting to understand that although we all use the name Festivals of Light, it's under this umbrella we have lots of different kinds of activities. When Corona hit, in the first moment everybody said, okay, let's have a moment to breathe, because this kind of activities, they are quite intense. We all travel a lot, we all work a lot, we all prepare a lot. So the first 2 weeks, as Andrea said, were a moment to breathe. And then we started to have lots of discussions of how to deal with it, how to feel about it, and what to do with it. And I think then we had it included the discussion that we have to care for each other. So one more time, and this is a key experience of the last 20 years, this network of Festivals of Light tried to tie up, to be tighter with each other, to care for each other. So I found myself in a lot of discussions with artists that didn't know how to deal with the situations. Others, they didn't know very well how to deal with it. And in the cooperation, it turned out very good and very promising for the future. As well, I found that we found time on documentation. I think it's a key issue for all Festivals of Light to put more time into documentation. Now is the time to look at all the images we have, and maybe even write some text, collect some interviews with artists and curators. I think what seems to be clear is that mass events are not in sight, but in general, from my perspective, that is not really a problem, because these kind of massive urban events where people just walk in big bulks through the streets and just pass an artwork without having an experience, this is anyway, it's not my kind of activity, and I try not to be involved in those. So and I think we will hear that from the others as well. We are able to deal with very large spaces, so we can have drive-in cinemas if we want. We can deal with very small scales. We are very interested, always interested in building new formats, and I think these times they allow us as well so to discuss how can we create new formats. Hopefully these new formats, they leave a little bit more time for an individual and a sustainable art experience. And we even have experiences how to do that as collectives, even in these times. I think when we ask how to proceed, then we should have in mind that this pandemic is not didn't come out of nothing. We started to talk about this, I think, 30 or 35 years ago. Now we have to deal with everything what the ecosystem is not coping with. So I think we should have a priority on zero trace projects, and the kind of projects that we are doing, they have a huge potential to be these kind of eco-aware projects. So I think we should be the first ones to be back in the streets and to be back working. The only thing we need some trust, and we need that the budgets are not taken away from the project and will come up with something new. All the projects that are appearing in my network, they are really exciting, and I'm looking forward for them to happen.
Okay, thank you for that intro. I have one other question for you. Because you already mentioned something about in constellation with the artists and the coronavirus pandemic. How difficult is for the artists and curators this coronavirus suspense, let's say, of not knowing when life for those artists will continue, as well as the financial problems that artists are facing suddenly and currently? What happens after the corona pandemic with the public art events? Is there any positive effect, as you've mentioned a little bit so far? Can we learn something from this drastic experience, or maybe take some instant new steps that can be applied for the actions in the future?
Many questions. Let me try to follow up.
I will repeat something if you need.
Okay, no, thank you. So I really I know that there is a lot of problems with artists that don't have the means to sustain their living in these days, and I think that is a problem. But that is not caused by the coronavirus. It's caused by a situation that we have in general. We don't have enough budget in our projects to pay high enough fees, and we can have that discussion in general. What about exhibition fees, and how are they dealt with? And I still like the discussion: who is paid more at the end, the technician or the artist? And so if we look in this, this is a let's say it's a homemade problem, and it didn't occur only with coronavirus. This corona crisis only is like a microscope. It just allows us to see it more clear and in a very dense time. In my network, not everybody is suffering, and I experience that there's more people that are coping with it. They are prepared for a situation. As a freelancer, they are prepared for weeks and months of changing situations, and I see that people are helping each other. So at this point, I think if it doesn't continue like this, I think we can manage. We can manage with 2 months of unknown and not knowing what will happen next. I think that is not such an unusual situation. As well, the situation of being at home and just diving into something, so I have more time for writing in these days. It's perfect, and it's nothing, or it's something what I sometimes miss in the rest of my life. So I'm happy with that, to have a time of concentration as well. I think it becomes critical if all the budgets for future public activities are generally cut. So I have for me, it's not a problem to move a project by a couple months or even by a year, if I know that the project will happen. At this moment, I experience a lot that people say, we don't do the project. We take the budgets away. We don't look at the possibilities of alterations. And I would be very happy if we can come back to the situation that everything that was planned will take place in a different way. And we are smart enough and we are creative enough to find opportunities for that. It's not for us. We are used to be flexible. We know to work site specific. We know how to follow rules. All this is nothing new for us. So we can be very adaptive and responsive to the situation in a very, very short time.
Thank you, Bettina. We'll come back to you later. Now we're going to Andrea Müller. Andrea, I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing your surname right, but
perfect.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
It goes wrong, and you did it right from the start. So yeah, all compliments.
So Andrea, as director of Media Art Friesland, is both artistic and business leader of a multidisciplinary team, which organizes the annual Media Art Festival and the Luna Light Festival as well. She lives in Leeuwarden, the Netherlands, which was the European Capital of Culture in 2018. Andrea, describing yourself, you say to people to ask freely, that no question is too crazy. So, I would like to ask you, is it crazy to think that this pandemic situation made the art more visible than ever because of the presence on social media, for example? Can we firmly believe now, more than ever, that art gives quality to life and deserves recognition? Do you still hope that the governments will understand the importance of a vital cultural infrastructure nationally and regionally, having in mind the importance of everything else before the art and culture, and also having in mind the moment and the fact that you are also the representative for the northern part of the country of Mondrian Foundation that distributes national funds for visual arts and cultural heritage, as well as supporting artists, governments, and institutions in your region, which will be the northern third of the Netherlands, and keep an eye on the situation, especially now.
Well, again, many things in one big question. Yes, the arts have been quite visible ever since it started. Everybody's playing the piano online on Saturday night. We have concerts, ballet, media art installations. We get it all usually for free online. It's visible, but that doesn't mean that's good, and it also doesn't mean that will cause appreciation by those who should pay for us. The thing is, I'm actually even quite against all the free presentations on the internet, because it looks like, oh, see, these artists, they are so creative, they can do it anyway. I think you should do it in a good measure, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's not that I'm not giving away anything for free, but if you just go like, oh, this crisis is a great opportunity, let's show all my stuff on the internet, it's totally wrong, because you give the impression that art is just there for free and you give it away. Especially governmental bodies are very receptive for that. That's a problem. Very often I see that we have, that funding is way too low, especially at local and regional level. They have funds that just don't live up to the rules we have. Here in the Netherlands, we do pay artists. It's even worse. No, it's better. We have to pay artists. There's a national guideline for how much you have to pay an artist for a certain type of job, for how long it lasts, the work, for how big the show is, how many artists are there in a project. And then you get this guideline, and if you don't pay that amount, you won't get money, not from the Mondrian Foundation, but also many other big national foundations have embraced this rule. And if you don't pay them, you don't get any other budgets either. That at this point is a much more, actually here in Holland, this is what's worrying us a lot more than Corona itself. Corona, as Bettina beautifully said, makes it all very clear. It's like shaking it around and seeing what's left over. But the situation we have now is not because of Corona, it's because of everything that developed beforehand. And here in the Netherlands, we have a huge problem now, apart from Corona, with being obliged to pay everybody, not only the artists, also our teams. There are all these guidelines. No extra funding from especially local bodies because they have other problems. And at the same time, we don't know how to get funding anymore because it's not possible to get funding if you don't pay everybody. So that's a vicious circle. And we just, with all artists, with all art stages from the North, we just wrote a letter to The Hague this week stating this. It's just a mistake. You cannot tell us to be fair, expect us to be fair, because we want to be fair, but if there are just no finances to do that, how could we ever do that? And then Corona comes in and makes everything even worse. People losing everything they have, not having commissions going on. The Dutch National Foundation, Mondrian, actually advises to do stop projects now, to not postpone. The governments here are very tolerant. If you have invested a bit in a project but not realized it, they all said, we won't ask the money back. Anything you invested already, you couldn't know this. Just, but finish it now. Don't postpone, don't do it next year, but just take the money you have now and then start planning again with the new criteria within the new situation. So that's very interesting because they also say you can't postpone something that belonged to here and now and do it later, and then maybe with Corona measures that makes it look totally different. So it's especially, I think Bettina said the same, it's a very interesting situation as well. And of course, we may not say it's a good opportunity because there are so many people dying, there's so much going wrong. So it would be, ignorant to call it a good moment, but in some respect it is an opportunity to rethink things and really readjust the way we used to live before. And that's what I'm really actually cheerful about, if I may say so.
This is a question that maybe some of you, of the other participants, would like to add something about the recognition, the visibility of the art and everything. If anyone wants to say something, just wave at me and I will give you the digital floor. But if not, we can go on. For those who don't know, for those of our viewers, European Capital of Culture is a city designed by the European Union for a period of one calendar year, during which it organizes a series of cultural events with a strong pan-European dimension. The European Capitals of Culture initiative is designed to highlight the richness and diversity of cultures in Europe and celebrate the cultural features Europeans share, to increase European citizens' senses of belonging to a common cultural area and foster the contribution of culture to the development of cities. So in this aspect, Andrea, as part of the ECOC team in Leeuwarden in 2018, how difficult will be for Rijeka in Croatia and Galway in Ireland in 2020 this year, and what is the impact or the change expected from the prestigious title? What do you think?
Just a little correction. I was not on the team anymore in 2018, but of course I was working here, I was living here, and I was very much involved in an earlier phase. So,
external supervisor, let's say.
a double answer. It's first of all a catastrophe. I don't want to imagine having prepared all of that and then nothing can go on. It's so much money, effort, wishes, desires, creativity, so much you put into it, and all the hope and all that living towards this one year that's so important, especially for smaller cities. Yeah, just a catastrophe. The other part is that any cultural capital, and that also is, I think, very interesting for you there in Skopje, just at the beginning of that whole process. It's not only about that year. You can't have, and everybody actually knows, it's not about that one big party. It's about how to implement culture in a city in a way that it also brings forth economic development. So the process you start usually 6, 7, 8 years before you actually have the title is just as important for the results. But then still, the worst thing that can happen is that you've prepared it all and then the party can't take place. And for the visitors, for the public and your local audience, of course, the party is the most important thing, and that's what's not happening. So it's a really sad situation.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We'll be back to you later as well. Now we go on to Kari Kola. Welcome, Kari, once again. For those who don't know, the light artist Kari Kola had his performance in Galway this year. His motto is, "Nothing is impossible. It is just a matter of deciding how much you want to use your energy towards achieving it." He is known for creating massive light art installations on the most impressive and strange sites, such as lighting up Stonehenge or immense Finnish Saana mountains for the Finland's 100 years jubilee. You have more than 2,000 light projects behind you, and the most recent one was commissioned for Galway's European Capital of Culture. The Savage Beauty installation comprised 1,000 large lamps spread over 3 miles of the Irish's Conmara mountain. Kari, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience and what happened in Galway for the opening ceremony?
Well, this was an interesting project because I got a call about 1 year before the showtime, and they wanted something really big on the landscape. So I found that one location. This is really isolated place. There's only 32 people living in the whole valley, and the idea was that we do the whole valley. We light it up. So aim was, of course, to do really big landscape piece. The lighted area was about 6.5 kilometers wide. This was really in the middle of nowhere, and it was one of the main themes of Galway 2020. Main themes, there was 3 main themes, and one was landscape. So I took the task, and we started to prepare. I had 5 site visits before we started to build up. It was a nice idea to do the whole valley when the sun was shining. But then when we started, it was heavy rain, snowstorms, 25 meters per second winds. I had a team of 15 persons with me, plus a local team, about the same 15 persons. We used helicopters to drop the equipment on site because there was no roads, there was no access on any way. We needed to get generators and stuff like that on the top of the mountain. And after building 2 weeks on the site, we were about 2 hours before everything, the setup is done. We got a call that it's going to be a no-show, so because of Corona. And that was heavy. And I don't hear you.
Yeah, Bettina has something to comment. She already made a comment in the chat part. Bettina?
No, I just wanted to entertain ourselves a little bit. So I don't. I'm surprised to hear you complain about the conditions, Kari, because we know you are coming from the land of water and ice and snow.
Yeah, but this was more wet. I like snow is okay, but like you know, heavy rain 24/7.
Yeah.
It was a bit tricky. But yeah, it was interesting. Like that, 2 hours before we had the setup, I actually read it on social media. The production didn't call me first. That it's a no show, and then we had the production meeting, long meetings. That what can we do? We cannot let audience in anyway, and because it was a really hardcore gig, so I wanted to finish anyway. So we finished the installation, and we did it for documentary only. So we made a digital version out of it, and well, that was basically only thing what we could do on it, and it was a good choice because Ireland started to be closed down, like the chaos started on the exact moment, and that's why it went actually quite big on media. We got like BBC, CNN, like big medias like the Times, Guardian. So it went global on that. Of course, it made lots of problems. We had to dismount fast. Ireland was closing. The team wanted to go home. There was no flights, and helicopters couldn't get because the storm was there already. So it was, in terms of physical work, it was really hardcore. But like I think it worked, and it also gave lots of new ideas because I've been doing already earlier big installations that nobody actually sees live. That these are for media only, and I will focus on that way a bit more maybe.
Kari, tell me, because we were talking already with Andrea about the European capitals of culture, and we began the questions on that theme with you as well. What do you think? Will the European Union maybe postpone or even change the European capitals, or probably let the cities of Rijeka and Galway as well to be the title holders next year in 2021?
I think it's going to be a complex process to change it, because everything is planned already for next year. Maybe they can combine some things, but like I don't think the title will change to 2021. But maybe they can be Andrea maybe knows more about this. Because she's waving.
Andrea?
Yeah, I'm waving. I don't know about Rijeka so much, but I know that Galway invited everybody who has something to do with it, including the audience and artists, to reimagine the concept, to digitalize things, to do things online, and that they will also move things to the end of the year, towards the closing month, and are also talking about having some projects in 2021. But I don't think you can just give put the title to a next year, because, as you know, for the next years it's all fixed. We know next year I think it's Timișoara and something else. So I think that's impossible. But I think it will probably just move into a different shape, and also maybe a bit into the next year.
Yeah, I think so. Also, because like now everything is cancelled, and in the team Galway 2020 there was about 40 persons working there. Now there's only two left. They cancelled all the events at least next I think 5 or 6 months now. So and because the storm when there was the opening ceremony of Galway 2020, there was a big storm, so they had to cancel the opening ceremony. So actually only big project was the Savage Beauty at the moment on it. So in terms of that, I'm happy that we got the job done.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else probably want to share their opinions about this precedent situation? Yes, Bettino, we're listening.
I think the problem for us at the moment is that all public events are treated the same. So I think there is a difference between a concert or any kind of theater performance that is taking place in any kind of hall, and the things that we are doing. Because our activities, they are outside, we can deal with distancing, we can deal with a small amount of people, and maybe we want even to encourage that. So it would be great if there is a differentiation about these activities, and I think as well that these cities that are now in their prime time, that they will come up with similar solutions that we are coming up with. I'm pretty sure. So from Kari, we already heard he did everything and documented on media and shared it widely. We already heard from Philippe that they are doing something. So I think Katra will start next month. It's very, very interesting to look into the possibilities and not to give up in the situation. And the problem is at the moment to get any license for that. I would be interested to hear from Philip. How did you manage to get it going for a concert?
Philip, we're listening.
Okay, yeah, well, we are doing something in Skopje. We started kind of when the whole mess started and all these curfew hours, and we knew that for 2 or 3 months there's not going to be any cultural events. And basically, as we postponed Light Festival, there were also other festivals that have been postponed. And we said, okay, everyone is postponing for, let's say, end of summer, beginning of fall, and then we're going to have overcrowding of events. So basically, we said, okay, let's start doing something. And we sat down with some of other cultural institutions from within the city, as well as the cultural department in the city of Skopje. And basically, we decided to do something during these curfew hours. And at first, I was personally like very skeptical about this, like, you know, doing concerts and singing to people on balconies or some landmarks, and doing these live streams. And organizational, it's been, I'm not going to say nightmare, but it's very difficult, like organizing all these musicians, let's say bands, and getting out of permits for them to be outside, and giving them the permits in the right time so they can come to the location and stuff. But we're kind of managing that. Everything we're live streaming everything. So this was also a hustle, like, doing all these teams, giving licenses, and finding a couple of teams, like going from locations to locations. But the main concept, the main idea was, because we have a lot of artists, and they're like, especially, for example, musicians, that since beginning of March they don't have any gigs. They're not making any money. So basically we decided, okay, let's have some solidarity measure. And as Skopje, I don't know if you all know, like, it's kind of like has the brand of like solidarity city since the 1963 earthquake, where like the whole world has solidarized with Skopje and has given so much. So the city is built again. And basically, okay, we said, let's have solidarity measure. We give all the artists, all the participants, no matter like if some is more valuable than the others, but we give all the participants the same amount. So basically, we also had some musicians that are like, let's say, more stars, and they're singing, and they're giving their gigs without any money. So basically, we're like, everyone that has problem with financial means, we're giving them some support, and it's like equal. And basically, we want to use this as well in the bid book for Skopje 2028 as some solidarity measure that we're giving artists. We said we're not going to give everyone something, but we decided to come up with some budget. Basically, we reallocate some funds to do this events. And basically it's been great. Like, artists love it, and we have, like, as we discuss with everyone, and they're saying like this thing should continue even afterwards. Okay, we're maybe not during curfew hours, because we're like going to like little places in the city, little communities, and we're giving, let's say, culture to them. It's, as you said, Bettina, earlier, it's like, it's for free for the audience, but the artists are getting some compensation for it. And it's very interesting that we decided, like, some, let's say, musicians and bands, couple of, you know, the people that are in the band are working, you know, they have some other positions, or they're working in the public industries, like public, I don't know, Philharmonic Orchestra, but they're using and they're playing for free for the other parts of for the band to get paid. So yeah, it's very interesting, and you know, I was very skeptical at the beginning, but I think we're doing a good job, and we're producing some, let's say, some videos that will stay for a longer period of time, and we have like you know, filming the streets of Skopje being empty, and you know, people are like doing something, and people are applauding from their balconies, and you know, even putting like, you know, with drums, you know, for like an applause for the doctors and medical staff. So yeah, I think as I said, I was skeptical at the beginning, but I think we maybe came up with something that we will continue even, you know, after all this COVID pandemic comes to an end.
Good job, Philip. Everyone gave you a thumbs up, especially Bettina and Kari. Kari, you wanted to add something? We are listening.
Yeah. One thing like about the licensing, like I'm preparing actually 2 possible projects, because on some cases licensing is now easier than ever, and this is like for some really special places like UNESCO heritage places, because there's nobody there. So it's a possibility to do something there to create maybe a project or something to make it visible through media. So I'm aiming a couple of places like this. The aim is to go, of course, really big on on the scale. But let's see.
Thank you, Kari. We now will give the floor to Katra, because we haven't heard from her from the first question. Katerina Mirovic, for those who don't know her, is working as managing director of Stripcore, being also its co-founder, visual arts music publishing section of Forum Ljubljana. In 2007, she co-founded Lighting Guerrilla Festival in Ljubljana, devoted to light art and public space, being ever since its curator and producer. As part of the program of Lighting Guerrilla, she created a lighting park in Ljubljana, where already 3 light art installations have been permanently installed in the last 4 years. Katerina, you are in the peak of organizing one of the pioneer light art festivals in Europe, Svetlovna Guerrilla. It would be its 14th edition so far. With what kind of difficulty level are the preparations going on, having in mind the pandemic and the crisis? You already mentioned so far a little bit in the beginning. What kind of changes have you made facing the starting month of June that you have planned?
Actually, we do lots of internet cooperation meetings, lectures with students and stuff, and we try to do something also a sort of on spot next week, hopefully, because we need to finish materials, and I think it's quite hard to do it through the internet. You need much more different approach, and it's really demanding for us that haven't experienced that before. And also, if you work with kids, they don't listen all the time. So, and this is the major thing, is that you need to have meetings when you're organizing something. You need to check out things, and this is pretty hard. And also about the licensing, here we have problems with doing things that are connected to heritage, not like Ari, but here it's actually not allowed to do something on the object that is of national heritage. And also, I'm not sure what will happen with the licensing, because last week when I was talking to the woman that is giving the licenses to have to the projects in public space, she was on the leave, like everybody in the city. They were all on waiting list, and they were not allowed to do anything. They were not even allowed to receive any applications for licenses. So I still don't know. I think I will talk to her this week and see what are the possibilities. This, like Bettina said, this is different kind of thing. You know, this is just this is even less dangerous regarding the coronavirus as is opening the museums, because this is in the open space. But also another thing is that I'm quite worried about is more of the next year. We have now we have we know about the funds for this year. We don't have the contract from the city yet, because of the coronavirus it was stuck in the city. But supposedly it will stay the same, the funding, but I think next year it will be worse. And especially next year, because we also have another virus, which is called the new right-wing government. And they already put lots of new people they changed lots of people in the ministries, most of them. And one of and from the Ministry of Culture, we already heard from the guy for PR that the only valuable art is art that survives on the market. Second, the person from the Ministry of Culture mentioned that art should be beautiful, not socially engaged. So I think it's pretty heavy times that we are looking for, and they will be hidden behind the virus. They're doing this now when everybody's afraid of the virus. They're doing it secretly, and we have one interesting project by one theater performer, actually more like a theater director, that is doing projects in the public space. I will send you the link later, so you will know what I'm talking about. So there is space to do also things now live in public space, but it's not the thing that we're doing, because we have to have more people building up stuff, and we need public electricity, and for all this we need licenses.
Katra, one more thing. As a promoter of young artists, because you already mentioned the right-wing government and also the rise of the right-wing governments in Europe, as a promoter of young artists, what is your message to them regarding the aspect that you've mentioned so far, especially for those from the Balkans that we are from the Balkans, having in mind the different approach that governments have towards the art, on the opposite of other European countries?
Yeah, well, in Slovenia there would be no funding for independent arts if we didn't demand it. Like, I'm working from late 80s in the culture, and there was like at the time there was like, I don't know, 8,000 Deutschmark per year for independent culture. And by demanding the equal rights for getting funds, we slowly grew to much higher numbers. But this is a constant fight with the government, and you reach something, and then the next moment you lose something else. So for the young artists and also culture activists, culture operators, I think the most important thing in the Balkan area, in former socialistic countries, is to be connected, to connect their associations, which will fight for their rights, which will fight for better working conditions. And in Slovenia, we have more of those. Some the older ones, like Association of Fine Artists, they're not functioning this way anymore. But we have new organizations that are really advocating the rights and the needs of the artists and the cultural operators.
Does anyone has probably something to add to this commentary that we were giving on the question of right-wing governments or something like that, and sponsorships and funds?
I would like to add that this doesn't happen only in the right-wing countries, right-wing governments. It's all the time. The questioning about meaning and the role of the arts in society is questionable all the time. And here, but especially in the countries, in former socialistic countries, because there was never established a position of the arts, and also the thing is that we have sort of left and sort of right-wing options, and which one is ruling is all the time against the other one. And sometimes they change their policies when they get on the board. You know, first they demand something, but when they become a ruling party, they decline the same thing that they were demanding before, or they were trying to go through. So this is, the politics are very tricky thing, and it's a constant battle with them. It's never ending story, but it's, if you want to do it and if you want to develop the artistic field, you have to do it all the time.
Bettina, did you have something to add? We're listening.
Yes, Katra, I'm working on these days with a focus on artists that are working with numbers, data, and algorithms. And one of them is Aaron Koblin. And he said the 21st century will be the century will be defined by interface. And I know that last year in your festival, you worked a lot on interface. So is that something that is generating now new opportunities, or something where you think, okay, we have the tools to react or to respond to what is happening, to this new social situation that we have?
This is a heavy question.
I'm sorry.
I think universal, this, how it's called, universal income should be one of the tools. If everybody gets money, they're happy and they work. And in what I remember from socialism, you know, people had their homes, they had means to live. There was no crime. There was hardly any crime. Now everything is wrong because the poor people are more poorer all the time. But I don't know. It's really hard to do something new this way. You know, like a total change.
I think you did
Especially now when we are all overloaded already, you know.
But you already did it. You had all this, you had these workshops on these new interfaces. You had a lot of interaction with the artworks. There was a lot of digital tools as well involved. So this is all, in my perspective, this is all knowledge that is now very helpful.
Yeah, okay, we're doing things that are digital, and this year also we will do some interactive stuff, but I'm not really thinking about going to out of real space, you know, because for me the art is still experience. It's when you go somewhere and you experience it and you feel it, and it's much different if you see photos or video than really seeing it live. I think it's really cool to document all the stuff so people know about it, so they can see what's happening, they can do researches, they can get inspired, but still it's something else to see the original than printed matter, and it's something else to see an artwork in a public space than on internet. And as you know, Bettina, you know, like even putting one artwork in one park or in the middle of the skyscrapers, it's two different things. In park it can look great, in skyscrapers not, or vice versa. So the space is very important for arts, for this kind of artwork that we're doing. And so I think internet can't really be a substitute. It can, I think it's really important to have things on internet, to document it, also for the visibility of artists, for the visibility of our work, but it can't be a substitute.
Thank you, Katra and Bettina, because we made a little debate prior to this one as well. I would like to give the floor to Philip next. Philip, already my first question was, let's say, half answered, because Bettina already asked the question about what's going on with the organization of some open air events, and you gave the intro. You're part of the city of Skopje as director of the Universal Hall in the capital. Can you please tell me now about, I would like to ask you, is there any life for open air large crowd festivals in 2020?
Well, there are a couple of things that we need to think that, you know, most of us don't know how, you know, the countries and how things will function in, let's say, near future. For example, I think, you know, just to comment on whatever Katerina and Bettina started, I think digitalization is here, and it will stay even if everything, all this finishes, because as I've seen, you know, with this pandemic, there are like two types of people, like, you know, people that want to go outside and people that are kind of like scared and would rather stay home. So basically, I think for us as organizers of festival, we need to give them both experience. We need to give them the digital experience. We need to give them the real life experience. And this is, in my opinion, this is what's going to happen probably this year. We will probably, you know, organize these festivals open air with some measures, like we're just going to be outside. We're not going to have, for example, our festival will have like a chill stage where we have like a DJs and bands and people, you know, having a couple of drinks, and probably we're gonna scratch that off. It's just gonna be, you know, walks in the park. Maybe we'll have different locations that are not, you know, that can, you know, gather a lot of people that can, you know, just walk around and see everything and not be, you know, not be a lot like next to each other. So basically we will readapt, and maybe, yeah, we will have this, maybe even live stream, like a walking tour online, and, you know, stuff like that. We might, you know, we need to think of, you know, some types of adapting, as, you know, as I have experience with organizing these open air concerts. You know, we're doing live streams and we're like, you know, every day, you know, doing this kind of stuff. And basically I think we will, as Bettina is saying, drive-in mapping. Yeah, no, maybe we were also discussing, you know, during this events that we were organizing, to have some mapping, but as we try to give like more to artists and not to, you know, technical equipment. So, just, forever, whatever funds we have to end up in the artist's hands, not to use for renting equipment. So, but we might use some small type of, mapping where we can help, say thank you to all the doctors and everyone that's, working outside. But yeah, my main concern for our festival, that let's say is going to happen end of summer, beginning of fall.
Yeah, that's also what I wanted to ask about the Skopje Light Art District. Where does the festival stand now because of the pandemic and all the restrictive measures from the government?
My main concern it will be artists coming from abroad, because we do have some, pre-selection. For example, and let's say Cardi is here. Let's say if Cardi needs to come in Skopje, let's say end of summer. I don't know how it's going to be like with the airlines, with the, for example, the measures that the country is going to give. If Cardi needs to come and say, let's say, stay 14 days in quarantine in Skopje, then it's like there's no point. And we in Skopje, we do not have enough domestic, let's say, artists to have light festival. For example, we've said for these musical concerts, maybe we're gonna just give the stage to domestic artists that we have enough. But let's say in light art, we do not have enough domestic artists to have let's say even decent or okay light festival. So this is my main concern. It's not funding. Let's say even if we cut a little bit of the funding and everything, we can still organize a festival. But my main concern is artists coming from abroad. Like, as I said, like there are two types of people there. Some artists will just, get on the plane and fly with no worries. But some might say, okay, I'm just staying home because of, just I want to stay safe. And so basically this is my main thing. I don't know what kind of measures will be given by countries, internationally and domestic ones. And I don't know, the type of artists, if they want to come or they will just rather stay home and, give us some digitalization. But yeah, we can do the mapping contest online. This we can do.
Okay, thank you, Philip. We're off with the last round of very brief questions and very brief answers, because we already have more than an hour-long panel and debate, which is quite enough for those who are viewing us. As countries go into lockdown, people are forced to keep social distance and work from home. In times like this, digital technologies become more crucial than ever before. We may not be able to stay close to each other physically, but we still need to communicate with each other socially as well as professionally, as well as this panel discussion and debate we are having today. As a result of the pandemic, even companies that used to be digitally lazy, let's say, will now have to step up their digital game. Video conferencing, document sharing, cloud solutions, information security. Businesses across all industries, whether they like it or not, will have to use digital technologies to keep their operations running. Everyone that have so far relied on outdated solutions will now experience the efficiency of digital tools. Thus, the result in the culture field will be a steep learning curve. What do you think? Will there be more virtual festivals? Is culture going digital in the future? Maybe. And also, I would like to start with Andrea. We haven't heard for a while from her. Andrea?
Yeah, here I am.
We're listening.
Well, somehow we're forced to thinking about this option. On the other hand, as Katarina said before, festivals and culture are very much about also the live encounters. It's about all senses. It's not only about a screen and sound and vision, but it's the haptic thing, immersive works that you can enter into. I mean, also the media will change, and maybe on the long run, I can rebuild a whole walk-in immersive installation with all senses in my living room, but we're not there yet. And so far, I wish that real life festivals with real people and real life encounters will stay or come back actually now. And I'm quite sure it will.
Thank you very much for the answer. I will have a brief question at the end, but we'll go back to that. Kari, same question to you. What do you think? Where there will be more virtual festivals? Is culture going digital in the future?
Live is live. There was yesterday actually in Finnish national TV. There was a virtual concert that everything like from central Helsinki. That there was couple of singers and everything was made on VR actually with one game basis program, but like I agree we are not there yet because it was terrible. So and of course we need people to encounter. We need different spaces. You cannot do this with virtual reality with long time. I've been working a lot with virtual reality and with future techniques, but like we miss people, we miss the space. It's not gonna happen, I hope, for a long time. Hopefully never.
Yeah, thank you, Kari. Same question to you, Bettina. We're listening.
I think I'm streamlined with Andrea on this. We need the art experience. I think Kari will support that as well. We need each other and we need the physical experience. And I think as mainly short-term activities, so these festivals and projects, they last from a day to 14 days, some even to Katarina is for months or 3 months. But anyway, they are short-term activities. They disappear anyway after a certain amount of time. So we are used to deal with documentation. Maybe we will come up with new forms of documentation. But the input of this Corona crisis is in developing new ideas of how to cope with the situation. I think it will not be so much on the digital side because we are anyway quite strong on that in that field.
Thank you, Bettina. Katra, same question to you.
Yeah, I think like maybe in museums they started now with like sort of virtual recorded guided tours, and I was thinking, why didn't you do this before? You know, because it's obvious that the role of the museum is to share arts, and they're funded, share the knowledge, and they're funded by the city or by the government. So they should have done that anyway. So it's not even something new to do these guided tours and to show them. It shouldn't be something new, but actually is. And I hope they will not demand from us to do the same, because I don't want to do guided tours on internet. And but I think documentation it's very important, and probably there will be new formats also that some people will grasp. Like I saw that they were doing some guided tours in the cities, like fake, when you can lead one person to watch the city, and this person in the other city is guiding you where to go, like go left, go right, and then this person is telling you. The tour guide is telling you what's happening there. So I think there maybe people will come to some new ideas about how to do or what to add to their program. But I think it's not going to be the main thing.
Thank you, Katra. Philip, same question to you. We're listening.
Well, no, I think I even just discussed this about the digitalization. I mean, we all want to have open air festivals. I mean, even though I'm like organizing stuff now, like I get to go outside and also like organize stuff with people. Like so let's say I'm not so much at home. I'm like outside working, but yeah, I also like miss a lot like going to festivals. Going to, let's say, other countries. Having discussing this, in real life and experiencing art. But we need to, be prepared for, even for the worst. I'm like, we need to think about it. Like, even though I don't like it, I mean, like, I'm working and we're doing, let's say we're doing virtual concerts. I mean, so basically, yeah, I agree. I mean, we can conclude that we all want to, all the festivals to, to return as we were experiencing before. But the thing is, if we cannot do that, we need to think of a way to, to continue and, to give artists the opportunity to express themselves and, for the public to consume the art that it's being made. So, yeah, that's.
Okay, I've unmuted all of you because Philip gave me an idea with his answer to ask you, because all of us have been in quarantine for the last couple of months. Is there anything that you've missed a lot, let's say? Bettina? Being in quarantine, is there anything that you've missed the most?
I'm separated from my partner, so this is a quite tragic situation. So I think this is really, really difficult.
Andrea?
Yes and no, not really. I'm quite enjoying the situation. I'm really also very, very happy that all these international contacts are there. And then I have neighbors passing by, so it's all not that bad. But also there are just some individuals that I really, really miss and would like to have with me again soon.
Okay, Katra?
Yeah, well, I like to be in the office and have people mingle around and discuss some things. But so I miss this occasionally, but at the same time, to have a bit of more quiet time, it's also what we need, because it's a mad world, and especially in the independent arts, you have to be in constant move.
Kari, I suppose you're not going to talk about missing out butterflies, probably, as we can see.
No, I actually miss the connection. It's nice to be. I've been on a Skypes and with video conferences a lot, and it's nice for communicating, but we don't connect. I miss the time that we see in real life and have beers and connect.
Thank you everyone for taking the time to join this panel discussion. To Andrea, you're waving or something? No.
Didn't we miss Philip, or did I miss that?
Philip already said that he misses concerts and large crowds and everything.
Okay.
Isn't that
I
right?
have something else to add. I miss shaking hands and hugging people a lot. Shaking hands and hugging people, I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
Virtual hug for everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time and for being part of this panel discussion. I hope that all the viewers that were watching are satisfied, and maybe their minds are a little bit more than open now, so they will search around digitally everything. And hope to see you in person very, very soon. Stay safe and stay well.
You too.
Thank you, Agnen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For all those viewing, thank you for the time, and hope to see you soon.